Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Crash. You son
Oh, God. Hold on. Pause.
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill. They should have been targeting DC. This is the same thing, and this is what people keep missing.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
You bought GameStop at 400, didn't you? To the moon, baby. To the moon.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Chaos. My name is Brad. That is Fat Man Zoom. The stock market is crazy and chaotic. We made it our mission to help you guys own it. Santa Claus has not forgotten us, Fat Man Zoom, and we're going to get into all that. But before we do, why don't you hit everybody up with a starting five?
You got it. Starting five: Parag Juneja, Sean Dupuis, Brad Harris, Rudy Brown, Jeff Panika. You are our starting five. Welcome to Own the Chaos. We are live every Monday through Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Talk about what's going on in the market. Talk about what we're doing. It's the last week of trading. What's happening? How's it going with you?
It's going great. I mean, the market has just really taken off. We saw it start, just before the week ended last week.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of worry, or I guess concern, as to whether or not this would carry on into this week. Well, turns out it did. And the Dow right now is up around 300 points, give or take. S&P is up another 1.2%, which is good for another record on the S&P today. NASDAQ is up 191 points, or good for 1.25%. And man, it is just a good day all around, especially if you're in good quality stocks, Fat Man Zoom.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I asked you yesterday, I want to ask you again today because we've seen it play out, and it's been my biggest concern, and that's airlines.
Yeah.
I have been concerned about how Omicron would hit, and to be quite frank, not even just now, but like the fact that with all the cancellations, naturally it's going to impact through traffic. And I think there's also just a lot of people who are being cautious in addition to, I think right now the count is up to 2,000 flights. We just did a bold prediction video. We've talked about, the manufacturers, but the airlines, I'm not going to lie, I'm concerned about them. And I don't know what's going to happen coming up with them, but I don't know. I feel like these numbers are going to come in and kind of disappoint us as far as TSA numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Southwest right now, and then I also had Delta pulled up. Delta's down around 1%. Southwest is down 0.5%. It's an interesting dynamic, right? Because it takes a lot for the airlines to actually make any money. And that was a theme that goes back well before the pandemic. Warren Buffett expressed his distaste for owning airline stocks, even though he owned them. But I don't know. I think that there's definitely there could be more volatility ahead for the airlines. But man, I don't know if it stays like this forever. I think once Omicron finally is done rearing its ugly head and kind of wreaking a lot of havoc, which we've heard reports from Dr. Scott Gottlieb and Fundstrat and some of the other research out there that we could potentially see a peak in Omicron in about a week and a half. So around January 9th is what the expectation is. If that comes to fruition, maybe the airlines ease up some because there's not going to be as many restrictions or issues with shortages due to people not coming to work because they have COVID. There's a lot that has to take place, but there may be some volatility here in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping we'd see a comeback of Delta with borders opening up and stuff like that. I'm not even getting anywhere near that stuff simply because it doesn't matter if restrictions lift or whatever. I think there's a general overall hesitancy, but also, as you alluded to, you got to show profitability. And holiday season is such an important time to generate revenue. You have a general, you're starting out the year with slow numbers. Now, second half of the year may be a different story if there's outlooks up, but I think the first half is going to be tough for earnings for these airlines. Not to mention if oil does what we think it does, that could also continue to put pressure on the financial statements of these airlines from a cost perspective. So, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll continue to report with you guys. But I think that is what predicates the narrative that maybe it makes more sense to look at a Boeing or look at a Spirit because they can be ahead of the curve. Like airlines will buy planes in anticipation of an increase in traffic. It doesn't have to yet come. And so I think a Boeing and a Spirit Aerosystems is, to me, a safer bet because the traffic doesn't have to come right away. The orders just have to come in.
Well, there's also this, clean burning fuel that a lot of these aircraft companies or airline companies have to, adhere to according to government guidelines and that sort of thing too. And that fuel actually costs even more, but they're going to be forced to get rid of those old planes to go to these newer planes that actually can, burn that cleaner fuel. So it will be interesting, and this actually only benefits, to your point, Boeing and Spirit Air Systems, Airbus. It benefits them more so than it benefits the airline. So, to your point, I think there's definitely a key component of that as well. And so it makes a ton of sense.
Sean Dupuis says, just read a report saying that the COVID era has seen a growing addiction to gambling. Let's go, Penn. I think the addiction was always there.
Yeah.
Accessibility is now what is available. Again, we see the MGMs, the Penns, the online sports bettings and casinos struggle today. Again, Omicron, but I think the bounce back story is a lot less worrisome than something like the airlines. I think this is just a blip on the radar for them.
I think so too. I mean, I don't really understand why they're down today. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless it is in response to the Omicron variant kind of wreaking havoc everywhere. Maybe that's the case, especially as we see it just decimate the NFL. I mean, we saw 200 NFL players tested positive over the last week. It's just crazy. And now the NFL is starting to revise some of those restrictions based off of whether or not you're vaccinated and that sort of thing, or whether you have symptoms of COVID. So maybe that is one of the big reasons why we're seeing sports betting taking a little bit of a hit, because it makes it for really shitty betting when you're trying to fight COVID in this situation. So I think once we move past this, again, Omicron seems to have a much shorter shelf life than even Delta had. So there's definitely opportunity here, I think, as long as you have a little bit of patience to go along with it.
Yeah. Trading Opportunity says, is this the Pat McAfee show? I'm confused with the intro song. That's been our intro song for a minute. And we love Pat McAfee, so we'll take that as a compliment, sir.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff Panika. Jeff Panika sent us a gift in the studio. I don't think you've seen it yet, Brad, but appreciate the gift, my man. He is listed top 5 picks as he does every live stream. So your picks for the month of December and how they've performed, month-to-date performance. Amazon is the only one that's down, still 1.4%. Not too bad. Marathon Oil up 8.8%. Disney up 7.28% and a lot more room to go. PayPal up 6.83% and a lot more room to go. And Airbnb up 4.99%. So far, so good.
Yeah, man, it's been a great month for the top stocks in December. If you guys didn't catch that video, make sure you go back into the channel and watch that. But the big head scratcher is, as happy as I am about getting 4 out of 5 right, I'm really surprised out of the 5 that Amazon's the one that's red. If I had to pick one that I thought might not perform as well, it might have been something like Marathon or what have you. But that's one I really was surprised about.
Yeah. The great thing about Amazon is that it's going to be around for a long time. So you can almost, especially for such a high value stock, you can almost just continue to dollar cost average. But from a day trading, swing trading, it is frustrating. We not to give away all of our bold predictions, but we just recorded the 2022 bold predictions, which will be released later this week. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when we release that video. We talk about Amazon, and we talk about Amazon on a couple fronts. But what I will say, and I can divulge, is we both think when it does move, whenever that is, it's going to be a crazy move.
Yeah.
It's got a lot, you look at the revenue going in, you look at all the opportunities, the growth, and it's only a matter of time before it continues to move and continues to lead. So if you're patient, the good thing is there isn't much downside, knock on wood. It's just kind of been sideways.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and it's been really frustrating. It's been sideways virtually for an entire year. We saw
Yeah.
spikes up to 3,700, which it looked like it was promising. It was finally going to achieve its breakout towards 4K, and every time it just seems like it wants to come back down into this channel that it's been in for over a year now, really since August of 2020. It's really kind of started this sideways movement into this channel. Just can't seem to get its way out of it.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up a stock that Jeff Funny mentions. I can't wait till Drive Shack is in the top 5. I do want to say about Drive Shack. Now, the interesting thing about Drive Shack is it's going to be hard for something like Drive Shack to enter into a monthly top 5, just because, like, as far as the news is concerned, there hasn't been any rhyme or reason. And so it's really tough to predict, like, okay, it's going to happen this month. But
Yeah.
we do very much believe in the stock. They've got a lot of bullish factors going for it. And if you're in the Chaos Crew, you already know that. So I'm just going to give you new information. The new information that was released today by Drive Shack, another Puttery location was announced, and that is in Chicago. And for those that are familiar with Chicago, it's Randolph Restaurant Row, which is like the new hot area. It's a great area. 23,000 square foot venue, 2 levels, and it's going to have 2 indoor bars, a rooftop patio. It sounds really cool. I'll tell you what, nothing is like where Drive Shack is now, Brad. It's a buy for me. So,
Yeah.
and I have it, and I'm going to continue to hold it. I'm going to continue to add to it. So any of this stuff is icing on the cake. But here's what I'll say about Drive Shack. I love how they're approaching the Putteries, and comparatively, their mega venues they used to have were in Raleigh, Tampa, like smaller cities, Richmond. Yeah. These are big cities. So they're going to have them in New York, DC, Miami, Chicago. I love their approach and how they're expanding their company as a whole.
I do too. My only concern in the short term is just how much is that going to cost them to be in those big cities, right? Because leasing is definitely going to play a factor there, and with rents going up, that may pose a problem in the short term because of how much money they may need to borrow. And obviously with the direction that we're going into as far as the environment with the Fed and rising rates and stuff like that, that may provide some volatility. But either way, I don't disagree at all with what they're doing. I think they're doing all of the right things. The performance of the stock may be a bit of a different story, but as we look at this, it looks like it finally bottomed out around 145 and it started to curl up from here. Now, what it does in the future obviously remains to be seen, but I'm with you, man. I was actually tempted to buy some on this turn up just to kind of average in a little bit more. I already own a lot of Drive Shack, but man, I just see what they're doing and the direction that they're going in and how this is evolving, the popularity of golf in general. It just makes a ton of sense. And to me, I haven't seen anybody else that's doing just what they're doing. So this sets them apart, and I really like the company.
Yeah, I think their strategy is really sound. As far as the rent situation, I think that's all built in to their financial models. And I do actually, the path to profitability is a shorter path with the Putteries as opposed to their mega venues. But what's cool is they kind of work in tandem. Like the idea is you funnel people in through your Putteries, and then you get them exposure to the brand, and then you give them another experience in suburbs or in B cities, and offer them the mega venues, which are 2 very different experiences. They're both golf based, but the experience is far different. You obviously have Top Golf, who has this experience of their mega venues, but I agree with you. Nobody's doing this putt mini golf, indoor, outdoor, and none of them are doing the concept, and nobody's, even if they did it, it wouldn't be to this extent. Like these are legit chefs that they're bringing in to create the menus, mixologists that are creating, the cocktails. Like they're doing it right. It's not just putt. This is like an adult entertainment experience.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like you said, it's not like your typical, I guess, what's the word I was looking for? I don't know. I don't want to say unprofessional, but it's just not like your typical family like lifestyle,
Like a novelty.
type.
Now
Yeah,
that's
it's not
for
like you're
sure.
going to the ocean and playing some putt-putt with the fam.
Yeah.
This is like a place that you would go to for happy hour. You take your business buddies to and just kinda shoot the shit and, putt some golf balls. This is something that I think could really start to gain a lot of traction, and to your point, like, it's not something that I think that, Topgolf even has on their radar, which provides them with a huge competitive advantage.
Yeah. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. One stock we still feel strongly about, may take some time. Rudy Brown says it's not a Top Golf. The experience is almost exactly the same. Not the putteries, but the mega venues. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's just as good. I don't want to say it's better, but you could probably make the argument that it could be depending on where you are. But they're just, I mean, they can both, I think they can both stand out because they are in different cities. We actually have one coming to Baltimore really soon.
So you've been to Drive Shacks. Is like the wait times just as ridiculous as to going to a Drive Shack as it is Topgolf?
Uh, yeah, I mean, Drive Shack's actually longer. The one I've been to, it was a
Wow.
longer wait time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like impossible to get into. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I felt like the experience was a little bit better at Drive Shack. You can't go wrong with either one, and Topgolf has the name and the first mover advantage.
Yeah.
So I think that's always going to work in their favor. But longevity wise, honestly, I think the experience is actually a little bit better at Drive Shack.
What would you say the reason would be for that? Like, why is it better?
So I think the food's a little bit better. They have more like games, like things to do other than just golf. Like there's multiple levels, which Topgolf has as well. But I think they're like entertainment to keep you busy is better. So like you don't even need to golf. You can just go hang out. And Topgolf has bars, but like they have outdoor spaces, which I think are cooler as far as like cornhole and playing whatever games you want to play.
Yeah.
So the experience as a whole is really good. And this is just my experience. My experience with Topgolf, there wasn't really great service in my mind. It was unmemorable. Like I don't remember the server. I don't remember anything. At Drive Shack, I felt like there was more of an experience with service. And I did think the quality of the product was better. Like when you think about food was better. The golf was pretty much exactly the same as far as that experience is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what Rudy Brown was trying to allude to. He was saying, it was talking about the putteries and mega venues. They sell burger and fries at Topgolf, not gourmet meals. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. If you guys haven't been to a Drive Shack, check it out before you consider investing in it and make your own decisions on it. But that's our take on it. I think it's still going to take some time for this to develop and for people to catch on. This is one of those plays that we just continue to invest in and not really expect anything to happen today or tomorrow. But for the future, this could be something that really starts to take off.
Yeah, another stock that's a Chaos Crew favorite that already took off, OWUV, for those of you guys who are still in it, just had another announcement about 20 minutes ago, the NFT launch schedule of One World Aliens Club, which I think it was already announced, but I guess the schedule got announced. So now the stock's moving up again. I mean, that thing's just continues to be a monster.
What an absolute monster. Yeah.
$0.42.
The NFT space, as far as penny stocks are concerned, I think is really going to heat up in 2022. The over-the-counter penny stock market, they go through phases. I've been through quite a few of them now. They're, going back to weed, when weed got hot and there was nothing but pot stocks everywhere and penny stocks. And then after that, it was crypto. Everybody, every company was getting into crypto. They would just completely shift their entire business. And now we're getting, going into the NFT world. I think that that's going to continue to be a much louder space. And it all usually starts in penny stocks and works its way up to larger cap or big board stocks. But yeah, I mean, OWV seems to be the one that's captured the most of it. Man, that thing has just been, I mean, I don't think $1 is out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. And I mean, I know NFTs, there's an overlap obviously with crypto, and you talk about blockchain. But I do feel like the attention is certainly moving more towards NFT conversation. And I think to your point, it should get stronger, and I imagine it'll continue to get stronger. Now, what that means for crypto, I don't know. I think it still bodes well for a couple of altcoins.
Yeah.
Like you think about blockchain NFTs do well, you should see something like Ethereum, maybe Solana do well. But you think about a Bitcoin, how does that play? You could make an argument it plays, but I don't know if it's as good as before, where like all the attention is on crypto. We haven't really talked about Doge in a while. We haven't talked about Shiba in a while, because all we're talking about now is NFTs, and it feels like we're very early on in that conversation.
It does. There's certain parts of it that feels a bit bubbly. And I say that only because the amount of money that some of these folks are spending on digital assets just seems completely outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some just unbelievable sales going on with various pieces of art that kind of make no sense to me. I mean, the Bored Ape crowd is just going nuts. So I think there's definitely some pockets, but yeah, NFTs aren't going anywhere. I think that there's going to be some sort of leveling off, but the conversation as adoption continues is only going to get louder for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the NFTs, to your point, like it certainly is ridiculous the amount people are paying for things, and the auctions going on. And it seems like anything you sell as an NFT is just bringing in tons of money. That I imagine will level out for sure.
Yeah.
But then there's this different part, which is building the metaverse and, NFTs within it, or selling digital real estate, like Snoop Dogg's got his Sandlot and there's like virtual real estate. I don't know how virtual real estate goes. In theory, to me, it kind of makes sense when you think about the scarcity model. And if you think about like, I can buy the real estate next to Snoop Dogg.
Right.
I know it sounds crazy to people, but the idea is still the same. There's only a certain amount of plots, and if the demand's there, obviously the price is going to rise. But when you just talk about these random NFTs, just like somebody's artwork that they really just make up, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm sure there's going to be some people left holding the bag, but all in all, I think it's safe to say the metaverse, the omniverse, whatever it turns into, it's going to be a huge piece of our future. And nobody's really talking about this. I don't think anybody's really talking about this. But Apple's push into it. We think about Facebook meta platforms, Oculus. Apple's got their headset, which speculatively they're saying it's going to be released. Rumors are end of 2022, and they're already working on their second version. So it seems like it's a pretty big move. And I don't know, man, we talked about EVs and everybody was excited about Apple EVs, which seem like so far away and so many obstacles. Yeah. Is actually like the metaverse a bigger play for Apple over the short term?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know if it is or it isn't. I think if Apple does what Apple does, they let it play out. Like they're so big to the point to where they don't need to be a first mover. If they let it play out and see that this is here to stay, it's not going anywhere, and the overvaluations aspect of it and stuff like that, I think that's what they end up doing, is just kind of letting it all play out, and then they make their move. We've seen this from Apple plenty of times, and even with the EV market, I mean, EVs have been around. Tesla's been around for 10 years, publicly traded for 10 years, and now they're just deciding that they want to get into this space. So I think that's probably the route that they end up going. I don't think they try to innovate anything.
Well, I mean, I think Oculus has shown that it's going to be here.
Yeah.
And their headset, I think that's exactly what they're doing. It's, hey, there's something out there I know they probably exist, but I can't tell you another brand of headset, VR, AR headset.
Yeah.
Right now it's Oculus. And so Apple is great at making great products and improving on products that exist. And I've used Oculus and I really like it. If Apple improves on that, they could take it by storm. And the thing though is it's not even just them building a headset. It's again the software that's going to be on the experience
Yep.
that they're going to make their money, and they're clearly going to the service side, the software side, and it's just another piece of life that Apple is ingratiating themselves in or integrating them in.
I think so too. I mean, you consider how they've integrated all of their other hardware products. This is just going to be something else that they can integrate with their phone, the MacBook, all that good stuff. Even Apple TV. I think that it only makes sense for them to make that transition. I just don't know if this is the year that they move on it, and maybe it is. But the metaverse certainly has a long way to go, and I don't know if this is the year that they move on that or not. I think it'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how crazy people get over it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, like I didn't love the Apple EV thing. I think that's high. Like, I think it's a lot of like hot words and hot topics that people are talking about, but we've talked about how hard it is to build an EV and to be successful at it. And that just seems like a really big undertaking. Not saying that Apple shouldn't do it, but something like the headset and augmented reality and virtual reality, that seems very much in their lane and something that they can seamlessly transition, something they can integrate with their existing products. And I do see them crushing competition fairly easily. Yeah. So in my mind, that makes more sense. I'm not saying they shouldn't do an EV, but it's still kind of weird to me to think about Apple having an EV. And even if they do, I can't see how there's an EV on the road in the next 5 years for Apple.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be challenging. I think the one thing they have going for them, obviously, is their partnerships with the likes of Hyundai. It's not like they have to create a whole new facility themselves. Mm-hmm. And so, and we've seen them do this, right? With Intel, their works with Intel. Skyworks is their chip maker for the iPhone and all that good stuff. So there's definitely that element that'll help speed up the process. But I would be surprised. The other thing is Apple's been made it pretty clear that they're not really trying to reach the masses with this EV either. It's gonna be a pretty high priced vehicle, so they're targeting a certain demographic, and it's not the everyday American, that's for sure.
Yeah, Ivan Broski, what's going on? You talking about Oculus? We did talk a little bit about Oculus. He says he just tried Oculus last night. It's dope. It is very cool. I haven't tried the newer version, but I tried the last one, and it's really cool. I thought it was great. I see huge potential in that. But we were talking about Apple's headset, which is rumored to be launching in Q4 of 2022. Rudy Brown says they have partnerships. They can get them to market sooner than expected. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's easy to say, but I'll believe that when I see it. And it's still, Hyundai makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't know. Like I've said this before. I thought that BMW would have made the perfect partner.
Yeah. That's a great company. Audi, great company.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I don't know why they would have gone with Hyundai. I mean, Hyundai, honestly, though, has also come a long way. I don't know if we should look at Hyundai like we saw them 20 years ago, but it still is a bit of a head scratcher. I'm with Rudy, though. I think that there's definitely a lot of partnerships that they could get it to market faster. But, again, I think that just the demographic that they're trying to reach for this EV, it seems more of like a passion project than anything. That doesn't seem to me that they're trying to like hit the mass market with the Apple car.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, Rudy, to your point, they have partnerships. They can get them to market sooner than expected. Name one other time in Apple's history that they ever rush something to market. That's not in their DNA. So and that's a good thing. Like, that's a compliment to Apple, is they're not going to put something out there unless it's been tested forward and backwards. And that's why they have the loyalty. So it'll be interesting to see. And regardless, I think the hype and any rumors will still get the stock moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it already has. I mean, that's what kickstarted Apple to just go crazy this month, was the start of the EV and the advancement and development of the Apple car. It's just that's what really kind of sparked Apple's strong move into the end of the year.
Yeah. A couple of people talking about the Oculus. A little surprising. People got that for Christmas. Positive reviews. Um, I'm really bullish on Meta platforms going into next year. Um, I I kind of mentioned this in the watch list this morning, and if you guys are interested in the watch list, we send out 5 free stocks. Um, 5 stocks are free every morning, Monday through Friday. Go ahead, click the link in the description, ownthechaos.com. But what I mentioned with Meta platforms is essentially I'm really optimistic in the future is bright as long as it can get out of its own way. There's nothing with the product that's the issue. It's more of the leadership and just brand issues. I think those get fixed, but that's the only thing that I see stopping Meta platforms.
Is this true? Ivan Broski had said that Oculus was the #1 downloaded app on Christmas Day. I'd love to have somebody else corroborate that. Not that I don't trust you, Ivan, but like if that's the case, I mean, that's crazy. Pretty insane stuff. The Oculus just seems to be the natural progression of Meta platforms and their integration of the metaverse. And you can see that the stocks have been moving pretty well. We actually talked about this on Stockwatch Sunday as well, Fat Man Zoom, about how this has been moving up. And it's well above the 250-day moving averages. And we're about ready to cross over that 345. We just did, sorry, that 345 resistance. We closed over that today. And I put that in the watch list as well. We give our technical analysis on each stock that we put out in the morning for our Chaos Crew members. And I mentioned that 345 was a pretty tough resistance for it to get over it. It closed over that today. So I think there's definitely tons of momentum behind this. I would be very excited if I was a Meta Platforms shareholder right now.
Yeah, so it is. So in the US, Meta Platforms was the #1 most downloaded app. TikTok globally.
That's incredible.
So yeah, that is true. Appreciate that information. And then you have in the top 5, you have I think it was Instagram was like 2 or 3. So that's also owned by Meta Platforms, and I'm sure Facebook was up there as well. So
Yeah.
you think about that, and that is absolutely wild. Speaks to the adoption rate of the Oculus, and how it's going to stick. But I think it's showing that it's a legitimate product, and I think we're in the first mover phase.
Yeah.
Then when we see mass adoption, I only think it's a matter of time. I don't think it's a question of if it will happen. I think they're clearly going to be the go-to product, and I think the product's proven itself that it looks like everybody loves it, so it should crush it once we get used to that idea of these VR headsets.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting. It makes me want to go get one. I don't have one yet, but it makes me want to get one. That's for sure.
Well, and we've talked about the metaverse in general and how it's going to work. But I saw an interview with Dana White, who's the president of UFC, and he talked about how some of the fight trainers are some of the fighters are training with Oculus, like virtual reality, and more so during COVID, during lockdown. But when you think about that and the opportunities for growth, I think people just tend to think of these like cartoony Sims.
Yeah.
But the Oculus can be so much more than that. And that's really going to be the challenge for Meta platforms. Can you show people and can you sort of shift people's perspective on what this is and what this could be? Because it's far from just that. We talked about the concert experiences, fitness, working out. There's just so many opportunities with it. I'm interested to see how the evolution happens, because I can't imagine like working out with this big headset. Like how does it evolve? And I think we're in the midst of that with the Ray-Ban sunglasses and the Oculus. I think eventually they're going to kind of morph, and you're going to see like a smaller product in the future.
Well, I mean, they're already doing that as far as their marketing is concerned. I don't know if you've seen their commercials on football games and stuff, but they kind of cater to that crowd of being like, oh, it's just for gamers or what have you. And so then they have people coming in on their commercials, basically explaining the exact opposite. You can do all kinds of stuff and obviously working out. And there was one about exploring the space station, with Oculus and stuff like that. So yeah, they're really working hard to kind of shift that narrative of it's just for gamers or it's just for kids even. And I think that they should succeed at changing that narrative. I would be very surprised if they didn't do that for people. And it seems as if, over the holiday season, that's working out.
Yeah, it does. Certainly worth keeping an eye on. All right. So we have, as we wind down, like I said, last week of the year, last trading week of 2021. How are you sort of closing out your year, if anything?
I've done some tax loss sells. I ended up taking care of some calls that I knew were going to probably end up rendering worthless anyway. So I ended up went ahead and took some of those early. But really, my winners, I'm just letting run. I think that we'll probably see this Santa Claus rally continue at least into the first part of next week. That's typically what ends up happening. And then I'm going to actually start making a little bit of a shift. And I'm going to hold off on what exactly I'm going to do because I actually want to release that in the form of a video. So guys, make sure you're staying tuned and hitting that notification bell because I'm going to give my full plan for 2022 here very shortly. I'm going to be recording that later on this week.
I'll tell you what, I told everybody how I sold out of all my stocks last week, not in my long-term investing account, but in my active day or swing trading account.
Yeah.
And even though the market's been up, it's been so nice to not have to worry about what's going on in the market. Like I can just see what's happening. I don't have to check everything. I don't have to freak out. Yeah. I still have a couple things that I have stops on that haven't tripped. And I'm kind of just collecting premiums, but man, what a feeling. I don't have anything to do this week. There's no heartache. If we have a big red day, I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
So it feels good. And I can't stress enough the importance of just preparing. And I would argue that tax loss harvesting, strategic planning, what you're doing now, maxing out Roth IRAs, contributing to your, Roth 401ks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How that is arguably more important than picking a winner because you're saving yourself money in a different way. So thinking about that, if you don't know about it, do some research on tax loss harvesting. Make sure you know about the wash rule. Make sure you're aware of that. And make sure, you're doing what you can to minimize your liability, short-term, long-term gains. There's a lot of stuff in there that's not complicated. You just have to spend a little bit of time to think about it. This is the week to do that.
Yeah. Just to recap the end of the day here, the market closed around 8 minutes ago. S&P closed at a record high to kick off the Santa Claus rally. It closed up almost 1.5%, 1.38%, which is good for 65 points. But that was up 351%. We saw a little bit of a dip before we went live, and it looks like we saw a huge surge going into the end of the day. So it was up 351 points, which is good for 1%. The NASDAQ was up 1.39%, around the same as the S&P. It was up good for 217 points. So just a stellar start to the Santa Claus rally, Fat Man Zoom.
Yeah, we'll see if it keeps going. We'll be live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time to report on how those things are going. And we'll keep you guys updated. Yeah, some good stuff's moving. We will see you guys back here tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you hit the thumbs up out the door. Brad,
Yes.
that's all I got.
All right, that's all I got too, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, we'll see you before the bell, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Bye.
See you guys.